Sure. All right, all to order. So, yeah, first time I should running this. So, Monica, I don't know the usual spiel Brian does, but, well, yeah, no, yeah. Welcome to the September 13th, 2023 hybrid meeting of the Fairhaven Environmental Commission. Gonna start off with the sunshine notice. So this is a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this meeting on September 13th, 2023 is available by call-in phone number or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it's time for questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 26, 2023. Posted on the Borough website. The bulletin board and the municipal building has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Christie, can you do the roll call?
Michael DiMichelli.
Here.
Kelly Flanagan. Here. Jesse Murray.
Here.
Brian Olson.
Here.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
Jonathan Peters. Brian Rice. Ralph Windrum. Ralph, I see you here online. I'm gonna, if you could unmute yourself, I brought you over as a panelist. If you can unmute yourself, we can hear you. Okay. You have a quorum.
All right. First item is the approval of the July 12th meeting minutes. Anybody have any comments or edits or anything? Everybody read them? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes then? All right. Approved. Sweet. All right. First item then, green team update from Kelly and Michael.
Great. So we were off last August. We did not have a meeting. We have our first meeting of the fall next Wednesday. We are currently working on the 3rd Street Trail Pollinator Garden, which we received that $2,000 grant for. And that is, we hope to be planting and putting some of the plants into the ground this fall, working with Christy, getting the PO for that. And then everything needs to be completed by next May. So that's on our agenda. Also, we have been in touch with the Knollwood Green Team. Mrs. Anville, Jenny Anville is directing the Knollwood Green Team. So we've been in touch with them, trying to come up with ideas for Safe Routes to School as well, which is coming up with the students. And I don't know, is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
We're a little quiet, for sure. I think I mentioned last time that we're still going to try to push forward. Maybe I don't know if we're still doing the sports exchange.
Yes. For the fall, we hope to do a fall sports swap. That's in town. We're hoping to try to align it, whether it's on the same day as Harvest Fest early in the morning or something where people are around, and we'll be able to do a fall swap. And then we also hope to do a cleanup as well in the fall. And we've been in touch with the soccer department too, still doing that one piece of garbage for the fields and just reiterating that, you know, athletes clean up after use of the fields as well.
Where was the cleanup targeted for?
At some point this fall, usually we've done it sometime in October. near Halloween as well.
You mean where?
Oh, where?
We're thinking beach.
We've done, we haven't, it's TBD, we've done, we're thinking beach or. Whether we're aligning it with Clean Ocean Action Fall Beach Cleanup, which is in mid-October, we don't know yet. We're hoping to iron that out a little bit more next week.
All right. Anybody have any comments?
The green. I don't know, are we gonna be talking about, and maybe that will be for later, but, just, we've done some outreach on dog waste.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we get to that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I did have a question though. There's a bunch of inject seminars that I'm gonna sign up for. And is that, and I'm happy to pay out of pocket, but is that something that we would want to cover or have multiple people go? I do think it might be a good idea to have stuff on stormwater for maybe multiple members or also someone from the borough to come. I think it would be great to have that. So I don't know if we want to try to organize and see if there's any other commissions that come as well, but is that something we would think about paying for through our?
I mean, I think that's, I personally think that it's something worthwhile. That should be supported from our budget.
And they have it online and in person, most of
Yeah,
them, so
yeah.
it's pretty easy, not easy, but feasible.
We're inject members, so most of them should be free, but.
Right.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Um,
I'll forward you the ones that I was looking at, the most recent ones that came out. There's a bunch of them coming up in September.
Okay.
You know what, Michael, yeah, if you, and then would you mind, Chrissy, disseminating that amongst the group? There was a handful of green team members that took some of the stormwater management.
Yeah.
In the spring, that was really valuable, but I do think if whether as a team, as an environmental commission, you know, if there's some people that wanted to take that, or even as.
And maybe Drew, like Drew might be a good person just because he's been dealing with all the stormwater issues.
Yeah, no, it should be, the council should definitely get a copy of it too, just
Yeah.
to see, especially the folks that are involved with, the different commissions and committees and whatnot, so. Yeah, no, Chrissy, if you can send those along to
Do
everybody.
you get the inject emails?
I do, yeah,
I haven't noticed a pattern. Sometimes I get a lot of it at
I
once,
agree.
very little, so.
And sometimes I can't tell if they're different ones. If
Is
different
there
seminars.
something you specifically want me to send out?
Yeah, I'll forward
Send
it to you.
me?
Yeah.
Mhm. And then the other thing is, oh, and one of them I thought was interesting was the environmental, like one of the last ones was environmental commission communication. So I thought that might be good for kind of a split between green team and environmental commission, but I thought that would be helpful also for us.
no, it's great. Yeah, no, I think I get the emails too. So do you guys get the Andrew emails or?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, no, keep an eye. I know, I'm sure, I'm gonna assume that they, probably took a hiatus over the summer and now with everything kind of picking back up to normal schedule again, they're gonna start sending out a lot more for like fall and the spring, so.
If there is a cost, I know some of them might have a cost in, in addition, we would just have to go through that lovely PO process. So
That was fun. I also was too.
just.
Yeah, okay. That's great. What was I gonna say about? And when the sports,
Yeah,
lot, where's
we're,
that planning to be?
well, we were thinking community center. In the community center.
I think it's still, it's accessible. Yeah, I think it will be. I'm not sure.
At that point.
Okay.
We'll find out more.
We thought it would be good to have a place that we could be outside if weather permitted, but we can go inside if we.
And that's centrally located.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And who, for the planting efforts, who's gonna be participating in that?
Yeah, so Robin, Bonnie, myself, Sarah, Steph, so we would love to have some input and expertise. We are hoping to, if you're interested. We have to, our three main things right now is, well, two main things is water source. We still do not have a water source back out there, and so if we plant a pollinator garden, we've been under the generosity of the neighbor, Michelle Becker, right there, who's been graciously donating her water. But we're hoping that that is alleviated, and then deer mitigation. So we need to put up some sort of deer protection fence.
Yeah.
So those are two additional costs that obviously aren't gonna be covered by the $2,000 grant.
Right.
So we need to it's like a catch 22. We have this $2,000 to plant this money, but we also, don't wanna plant it knowing that it's gonna set up to fail if we can't water or the deer are gonna eat it.
Well, if you're gonna do it in the fall, watering is not that big of a deal.
Right.
So that's like the key time to actually do it. They do have like supplements you can put in like with plantings, like to kind of help with extra hydration.
Okay.
There's different things you can get. Like I'll have to take a look and see what I used to use.
Okay.
But yeah, the plant in the fall is key because it's already gonna be what you do and everything
Right.
too. Like you don't really need a ton of water like you would normally in
Right.
spring and summer especially. But yeah, deer mitigation is probably the one, like having some sort of fencing.
Yeah.
Right. We'd be happy to have you come take a walk out there and give your thoughts as well, or even take a look at some
Yeah.
lists, planting lists.
Yeah, definitely send me the list.
Okay.
Do you have anyone else, like any of the scouts or anything that would be interested in maybe doing? Like helping?
Yeah, I know, not yet,
No,
no.
just figured to ask you.
We were gonna try to see if we could somehow talk to some residents and see if we can get the deer fencing helped out, like.
Yeah.
I know some people who might be, interested in giving a hand with that.
Yeah,
And
Brian
helping
probably
bring
knows a guy, cause he knows a guy
Yeah,
for everything,
yeah.
so he might be able to help with that too.
We wanna do it and protect it, but we also don't want it to be an eyesore either. We want it to be gentle.
Yeah.
That's,
If
and just do it a nice, cause it's looking so nice back there.
Right.
and we-
It really is.
Yeah, we wanna maintain that
Yeah,
aesthetic.
I mean, typically with the deer fencing, it's like, it's stakes with like some sort of black
The
mesh.
mesh,
Yeah,
right.
so it's not like it's super ice.
Right.
So.
And I wonder if like people in town have extra hanging around, like that might be the kind of thing that we can source. I don't know.
We're
possibly
gonna be
source.
talking about the deer policy, right? Is that?
That's next, actually.
I don't think this is a solution, but when I was walking around the other day, I saw, you know how you can put like water bottles like upside down? I saw someone had like wine bottles upside down. Could we do anything like big bottles that, like that drain slowly, that?
They have
plant-
those, like, kind of almost like this, like cribbing that you can put around trees and stuff.
Yeah, the grow bags, right?
For
the-
deer, for water bags?
No, for
Yeah.
water, I'm talking about,
That's for water.
I'm talking about for water.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
but that's
That's for
for
water.
shrubs
I
and
know.
trees, it's not for like, things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like work around, but.
I'm hoping. And I was, hoping that we'd get a council update, because I know that this has been in discussion. Perhaps with it, and, hoping that when they, we're redoing, the water in the baseball field and stuff, that they were able to.
Great that it's a pollinator garden. I just recently read an article that scientists are saying, too many people are creating beehives. It's creating competition for the bees. Because of colony collapse. And so
Right.
the instinct is to make, there's too many of them, competition, what we need is pollinator gardens. Great.
It's music to the green team's ear.
Yes.
Just a great solution.
Great.
Planning to use the same vendor Jesse did for the Millwood.
Well, that is,
Pinelands.
I know Pinelands is a vendor, I was gonna ask to see what other vendors already have, that are set up in the system, just to kind of see and compare.
So I'm
I
gonna have
know
a minimum. I
It's
don't know what your
wholesale,
budget will be.
right, it's
But to get
Pinelands
it delivered.
wholesale, and yes, exactly.
Otherwise, it's-
Unless you have someone able to pick it up.
And I don't believe, unless you have the wholesale number, you can't just call and get a quote, right? You need somebody who has worked with them, right?
We have an account, you can call on behalf of the environmental commission.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
cause I mean, we're in the system, so it's just a matter of, I'm calling on behalf of the environmental commission.
but the problem also is, right, I mean, this is the whole thing with the system, is that you have a list of what you want, you call them, you get a
Yeah.
price for it, but then by the time the PO goes through, the next couple weeks, they might not have those plans.
That's why, send a list, cause it's always good to have substitutes, because that's obviously that always can happen.
Okay.
So,
I will.
send the list, I can take a look, and it's always good to have different like substitutes and whatnot. So,
Okay, cool, thank you.
any other green team items?
That's it.
Alrighty, so the next item is deer mitigation. And I know, I think last time we talked about it, we were supposed to get an update from Councilwoman Cole, but since she's not here, we don't have an update. But I guess you had something else.
Well, I just want to, make sure that, are we doing something about that, right? Are we going to call the DP, like, are we moving forward with that plan that we discussed? Are we, I mean, obviously deer's a major issue. I mean, I had like 3 of them in my backyard just today before I came here, and it, like, they just won't even, they're docile, they are tame, domesticated.
Yeah, yeah, I know, my husband, honestly, almost in a really bad accident yesterday. Almost hitting one, and he didn't, thankfully.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, no, so hopefully should be at the next meeting.
Because I know that, like, isn't there, you know, with the DEP, like,
There's a plan.
there's a plan, but
Yeah.
we have to kind of get that rolling.
Do you have any?
Certain time of year too.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
maybe touch base with Tracy and see if she
I know
can speak to them.
She brought it to the council,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I don't know what the
What the result was.
feedback
Oh,
was.
and but at last meeting we had here, she had already brought it to the council, so I don't know if much has happened since then.
Alright.
I know maybe Drew had some questions. but
Well,
I don't
I
know.
think
We're going to do like an open house, right, with the DEP here and
Did a
residents can
presentation,
come
yeah.
and talk and learn and just understand the scientific, you
Mhm.
know, the science behind it, the data behind it, that this is a well
Yeah.
thought out and orchestrated plan, that we're not the only municipality that does,
Yeah.
is thinking about this.
Yeah,
And also get the numbers from the chief and get the number, you know, so like
Yeah.
actually supporting the reason for why we are approaching it this.
Yeah.
And I think that this, but you know, it's September, right? And if we push it off to November, then push it off to October, November, then you might be missing the window.
Yeah, the windows definitely, well, they're gonna start meeting soon, so October, so that's. Yeah.
so October, that means it's done, we can't go.
No, I think-
No,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean, they just mean like they're gonna start meeting, so it's like, you know, it's another round of. Another year, so.
Yeah, which, you know, it's a,
Yeah, I mean, personally, I thought maybe this year would be, you know, a trial period, you know.
Yeah.
right,
Work out all the logistics.
Yeah.
You might not get the, you know, the results.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's probably not gonna be till next year to get a full, without
I
getting.
mean, it would be nice, you know, to get, you know, maybe just a few days, right, just see how it works and.
Yeah,
A trial,
How we
like
set
pilot
it up.
study kind of?
yeah,
Well,
Well,
just for the, you know, to work out the logistics, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, like, do we need police here, do we need
For
this, you know,
sure.
signing?
yeah,
Whatever.
notification, yeah, but I
Yeah.
think we still need to have some sort of. Open
Yeah. but
forum for
before that-
folks,
Well,
yeah.
that's right, you need to
for
get
input.
folks on board, because,
Yeah.
you know, when they talk about hunting in Fairhaven, everyone's like shudders at the idea,
Right.
but when you actually get into it
Yeah.
and reasons
Yeah.
why this is the only solution,
And no
viable
other towns are
solution.
doing it,
right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, they hear Fairhaven Fields and they think you're gonna like
Right.
walk across.
Yeah.
the soccer field.
I
like,
know.
you know?
Yeah.
First time it's about.
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have an update then, a positive one, because it would be really great to have something on the calendar, for folks to be able to.
an
ask
open house, you know,
Yeah.
right,
You know, I just touched base with Councilwoman Cole.
okay.
She would be your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The council would do.
okay,
Right,
so we should,
I can do that.
You wanna do that?
Yeah, with Brian and, you know.
perfect,
yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
great.
All right.
Alrighty, so next item, ERI, I know last time we talked, we were gonna be getting some input at the environmental roundtable, also asked for input from the town folks and other folks, haven't really seen much on input still.
The environmental roundtable is, it has all been sent to the environmental roundtable,
Yeah.
and that next meeting isn't until the end of the month.
2 weeks out, yeah.
Hopefully.
And I had sent it to the engineer,
Yeah.
engineers and,
Did you ask for a deadline for when they might get comments back?
I said they will be discussing it at
Okay.
the meeting on the 27th.
So hopefully we'll get some feedback there.
Okay, and then we still haven't decided whether we are going to look into an external consultant.
No, I still think that's honestly, like, that makes the most sense, it's just a matter of figuring out how much we need to update and how much that will take. And if we already have like consultation services, if we can tack that on, so another item to discuss with Tracy,
Okay.
so, but feedback welcomed, still.
I know, I promise.
You're the good one.
I know, yeah. On time.
Yes.
I think the consultant's great.
No, I mean, it makes the
all
most
day.
sense. I mean, the base is there, it's just a matter of, I mean, it's gonna be some additional appendices, added on and just some things that we've all kind of made note of.
Right.
So I don't think it's gonna be a huge effort. So no matter what, to have a consultant do it, it should not be a big effort. And especially if we can tack it onto something else, just like, hey, while you're doing this, take care of this,
Yeah.
and take you know, you can 8 hour thing if you put your,
Okay.
so we'll figure that out. All right, next item is the living shoreline and pocket parks. This is another item that we don't have an update with, without Tracy here.
Okay.
We could probably talk a little bit though, if that's okay, our question.
They can talk, but.
I mean, there's
no
nothing,
updates.
from what I understand, it's moving forward, so there's not, it's despite all, like, most of our recommendations, the way it is. But my question is, does anyone know is Hance now off completely and nothing's happening to the end of Hance? Because that was the last understanding I had. I don't know if anyone knows, but I think those are questions for Tracy.
That's not a question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everything is off yet. I think that,
Because some of it was definitely off, I think.
right, but there could be an opportunity to present ourselves again at another council meeting perhaps. And reiterate that this is a huge residential investment as well. You know, the grant only covers just a little part of it. And we have to understand too that it's against the advising, recommendations from the Environmental Commission. And residents as well, but it also is a structure that will be around for 70+ years.
Did the environmental commission formally vote against it?
Yes.
I wonder if I was not here then.
I think you weren't here that day.
Okay.
The
What-
memo
I think
was
you
that-
abstained.
A memo, we
I think-
stated a memo to it that we wanted to make it as natural as possible and to reduce the amount of concrete right there at that end of the street.
You're talking about hands.
Talking about Grange.
Arrangements and Batten.
But we
And the boat ramp.
basically were just talking about a Grange.
But I think
Because that's
Brian
not-
even has an issue, Brian specifically an issue with the boat ramp because it wasn't in his mind going to alleviate the actual issues of eroding and stuff. So
Yeah.
the solution,
Right.
it didn't solve the
No,
problem
the
that was
design.
there.
You
Yeah.
can look online because it went out to bid already, the boat ramp and Grange. all
Did,
that
okay.
Replacement. So and it was.
The boat ramp went out to bid. or
And
the
it
whole
was
project?
awarded. Both in the,
Okay,
and that bid was awarded. So
Okay.
if you'd like to, for the.
yeah.
Was looking for it. I thought I spoke.
Did you, if you see it, would you?
Yeah.
So our concerns were, well, I think there were a whole host of concerns, but the big one was that it was, a lot of the surfaces were impervious.
Mhm.
It was a lot of cement
Mhm.
on a space that is sort of natural looking right now,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden we're just finishing it with this big cement. It wasn't really giving more access to the river, especially if now they've taken Hance off the table, because that was the access to the river.
Mhm.
So that, and there is access to the river there, but it's like,
And
and something needs to be done there, that's my other concern, so if Hance is off the table. But something still needs to be done there, because it's pretty bad down at the end of the road, so.
And the grant only covers a small portion of it. I think it was a 250,000,
250.
right? And then is this going to be the bids were, I don't know what bid was awarded, but it was close to over $1 million.
I'm not sure.
I had 800 in my head. but
Okay.
something
I know there was
800.
a range.
Yeah,
There was also.
But there was like
1.8. Yeah.
I think that, and that's when I think they
That's
lowered.
where it's very, for me to see some of these.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it went down when they took out Hance, I think that was part of it, maybe,
But it just seems for one,
yeah.
an exorbitant amount of money
Yes.
and offering something that majority of us advise against,
Yeah.
especially in
Many
light of
residents.
Mhm.
flooding and stormwater management and health and quality of the river. And knowing that whatever we put in there is going to last for 70 years,
Mhm.
the way things are going now, I just,
And I don't think in the plans there's any plan for the trees, I don't, like, all of the native, there's no,
Yeah, I don't think.
right?
And that was a big thing that we were all talking about, like making sure there was actual native vegetation planning and.
because that also helps alleviate stormwater.
Yeah.
And Hance is where so much of the water goes.
This is
Yes.
what was bid on.
Yeah.
This.
Well, could I please get the range, I mean, on the part, yeah.
No, there's no
Hans is-
hand.
Hans is not on there.
There's no hands on that.
$800,000, we're not, or 800,000. Wish it was. We're not getting hands. Anything done.
And-
hands.
You know. I'll speak up here, but I do feel like sometimes we have this. We gotta get this grant, we gotta do this grant, we gotta do this grant, it's $250,000, but if it's costing taxpayers so much more money and it's against what we think is best for waterfront property here as
Yeah.
well, you know, for taking care of our natural resources.
Right.
We're kind of eliminating the natural part of it.
Yeah.
And why are we rushing and in a faulty design just to use one small chunk of this award when we can take a step back and make it a more holistic, make it something that people want and that will better serve not only our community, but our natural environment.
Yeah.
Perhaps we need to go back to the drawing board. But
Well, and I know Gary, because Gary was part of the original plan, I remember he was talking about it, and one of his reasoning was ADA compliancy. So,
Right.
but. I mean,
That's
John.
mine, that's John.
John,
I mean, not John's.
Yeah.
Gary.
Gary,
Yeah, sorry.
I wasn't part of it. But I was hearing that thing.
Yeah, that's,
Which is important, but
Yeah.
that's not the reason to push through a project that doesn't.
no, and you can have a natural feature that is still ADA compliant, you know, taking into, you know, kind of combining both, so.
Yeah. And it also, I believe, does not live up to the new rules,
right, the new
the new
stormwater
stormwater rules.
rules,
But
because
it can
these
because if the
plans
were.
were previous to those.
Yeah.
Previous.
And again, that's a huge, like, with my drainage, that's where it all goes down hands. So I don't know that it would alleviate it, but it might do something to help it.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, we, obviously, next meeting, we did.
Right,
I think at this
so-
point, if it's through though, if it's out to bid.
Well, I think that's where we need to kind of get a council update.
That's the thing, get a council
And
update, and I think,
understand where we are and what, if
Our
there's
concerns
anything
are.
else that we could reiterate and.
This was,
What,
what was.
um. And it was for the 800,000, Christie?
Yeah, well,
89.
yeah, it's always lowest, lowest bid.
Which haven't we learned?
Doesn't matter,
Lowest bid?
low,
That's
doesn't matter.
just-
I know, I'm just saying, but it's, we're not, Carter Park's not, Con's not on here, but I do wanna add that on to our discussion.
Yeah, but,
In Grange Pocket Park.
no, I mean, it should be, we should be addressing, council should know that, you know, we're all still very concerned about it, so.
In terms of, those are the pocket parks, but if we wanna pivot a little bit to living shoreline on Normandy.
Yep.
I still feel like this is a very valuable project.
Mhm.
I feel like that there only needs a small. Work from an environmental engineer to complete or to get these plans going. We have the support from ALS.
Mhm.
We have the support, you know, people willing to do this, and move forward and help us write these grants. But living shoreline at the Robarts Park under Normandy, that beach continues to be eroded, and there are two massive trees there that the roots are now exposed.
Mhm.
And I don't think people realize that, that is Fairhaven soil that's just being lost out, that we're not gonna get back, and I do think that we can't keep pushing this off. I know we've sent a memo, but it would be great to get this memo in front of council we have, and I believe from the last meeting, we've discussed that we have ample funds that have been set aside, that Teresa set aside, that will cover the cost of an environmental engineer. We just need to, do we need approval for that to go forward? Is that what we? the whole
Yeah,
time?
council needs to know about it.
Yeah,
That was the whole thing where it
But we
said, how
have
do we get, how do we get it
it.
on the agenda? We can't get it on the agenda. That was that.
Yeah.
but I mean.
But Tracy says you can get on the agenda. Josh has to get on the agenda, so, or.
But then here's where, do we have to show up for the good of the borough and show the picture and be like, this is what's happening to our sewer lines right now, if we're avoiding it? But we have this money, could you just allow us to go forward and get an environmental engineer to finish those plans, and then we will happily work with other community-based organizations to help us write a grant for it? I don't know, and that's where,
Yeah, if Tracy can't get it on, then.
but you know, you could show up and
Yeah,
and
of
just say,
course.
hey, pictures worth 1,000 words, remember that photo that was shown of those two groups that are, my son took marine science camp there this
Yeah.
summer, and it is
a drop off.
And there are 2 trees that are about to be lost there.
Yeah.
It is horrendous, the beach erosion.
Get a couple
And now we're getting into fall and winter, you're gonna have more erosion.
oysters, yeah, yeah.
And we have that money pocketed, it's just
So what?
making it a priority. How do we make it a priority, right? We like these natural resources in town, but if we don't protect them or take care of them, they get lost.
Yeah, no, I 100%. So that's another item we need to push on Tracy. But yeah, no, I agree. If she
I'll
can't get,
happily
if
to
she,
show up
if she
to
can't, yeah, if
a
she can't,
Meeting and
Just so I understand just the process of it, maybe Christie can explain. So I know I understand that the mayor puts on the council, like makes the agenda, but if, like, how do we get stuff on the agenda? Can we just email him and say, hey, we'd like this on the agenda, can you consider it? Is that just sort of the
I
short
mean,
of
the
it?
agenda, the mayor sets the agenda with the clerk and, he, I assume, gets all of his input of what he would like on it from his fellow council members. So I think that would be your.
So go through Tracy.
yeah.
Or-
it's gotta be through Tracy.
or also Drew and Kristen and everyone else send an email out with the photos to all the council. Can't the EC do that?
I have done that twice.
And just say that this is, again, we were iterating. I mean, do you guys feel that this should,
I would certainly like to have an engineer come look at it. Yeah,
right?
I live near it, I can see that
Okay,
it's steep and the tree roots, I can see all that.
right. And if we already have that money, I worry that that money will be lost in the budget if we don't utilize it at some point.
It was specifically for
Is there-
shoreline.
It was.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there opposition to it? I mean, what, is there, or is it?
No.
No opposition, it's just not moving forward.
It's just stagnant. It's kind of hidden.
There's no push from, yeah, get it on the agenda to talk about
And
it.
perhaps, you know, we feel the urgency, right? But I don't know how you translate that or make it more known or aware that people.
I think it's tough because there's a lot of projects going
Sure.
on, and I think to take on another project, but we need to avoid any further erosion. I mean, it's just gonna become more and more of a problem, and then we're gonna end up with like a bulkhead. I think we're almost there, but
But I think
we'll get to the point
also,
where it's gonna be an emergency, and then we're gonna have to push through something that we're not ready to push through. And
Yeah,
and I think council needs to understand, we're not asking to do a whole other project. We're just asking for the engineer to look at it. And so that we have plans there that then we can utilize those plans to look for funds elsewhere,
Mhm.
right? If
Yeah.
that's what's stopping us
yeah,
It is.
from looking for plans out for funding elsewhere.
Right.
So that's what we have to, you know. But.
Yeah.
You know, maybe this is something, you know, I'm happy to also email other members of the council
I mean, could we
with some photos.
Chris, if
and
you wanna-
information.
email the council members again? On behalf of us, just, I mean, are there any like newer photos, like is it even
Yeah.
worse than last time? Cause
Probably,
even just to show the progression from when we took
Yeah.
the photo several months ago to now,
right.
I think
That would be
also
good.
helps to paint a picture of, hey, here's what it looked like 2 months ago when we first told you about this. Here's it now, we're coming up to winter season when we get a lot worse storms,
Yeah,
more wave action, more erosion's gonna be happening, what are we doing?
right.
I can take a picture tomorrow, I'll live right by it.
I was gonna
Great,
say,
great,
for
thank
that
you.
for me, keep driving the
Thank
bus.
you.
I'll send it to
Perfect.
you then, yeah, because I know it's sensitive about,
Yeah, you can't have everything.
I will
Great,
send you,
thank
resend you the one that Bonnie sent, that we showed everybody, I think it was back in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
can you send that first, so I can get a perspective, I'll try to take them in the same spot.
Perfect.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So hopefully we can,
It's nice to kind of move on something, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
we keep
Yeah.
turning that wheel.
Yes.
You know, one thing that might help is, what's our number one priority? Is it deer? Is it, you know, what, is there something that might give extra heft to it, that this is our number one priority, or that's a priority, what we just saw up here, bulkhead stuff? Like, if you know the sense of what, if we had one wish,
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
kind
that's
of
right.
I mean, I can say what I would.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
remember we all talked about what our priorities were, the EC, we
Yeah.
all had a
Yeah.
list of 40 things
I know.
long,
I feel like.
right?
It feels to me over the past year or so that there's so much passion, there's so much energy, and there's so much stuff to do that we get. It gets spread so
Yeah.
thin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, there it is, see right behind you, yes,
Sure.
that's it.
Okay, let me see.
So it has like the side bulkhead, right, the side wall, right?
All right.
Yeah, this was, April 10th, is the last.
Mm.
I mean, even if that property owner that thinks they're directly adjacent to it, like, I would think they would be concerned about those trees falling over on their property, right? Like,
It's 5 months ago, but this is the thing, right? This is what's kind of frustrating, that we have the same things on the agenda.
mhm,
And we can never cross off the list, right?
Mhm.
And even McCarter Pond, that was
Yeah.
on the next, thought it was crossed off,
Look at
it's like,
yours.
it's still, nobody knows what's going on with McCarter Pond, and we'll wait till we get
Yeah,
there,
we'll
because I
get-
have to
yeah,
wait
we'll
till we
get
get the rest of the
McCarter
agenda.
no, it's gonna work,
Okay.
well, that'll be on the
No,
agenda.
I think, Brian, that you bring up a good point, that what's our priority?
And thinking on behalf of the town, what's the town's
Yeah.
priority gonna be, you know, and
Sure. But you know, if you look at it, it's a common theme though, of like our natural resources.
And
Oh,
all,
yeah,
a lot of
Right?
this
I
is the
mean,
water.
protecting our natural resources.
It's our shoreline. I mean, almost everything we're talking, these 4 different things, living shoreline, the 3 pocket parks are all our shoreline. So it's
But
more
you know,
of like.
Carter Pond is a natural resource that is beloved by the town as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I would recommend we pick one thing
Yeah.
and just don't be relentless and not stop until it's done and then go to the next one.
Sure.
It's not optimal, but
I know.
the other way is not working, it seems.
Right.
well, I
as
mean,
well.
yeah, no, agreed, because obviously the deer problem, you know, that's an issue, but if we already have funding for something that can at least
That we've been
get
sitting
going,
on,
and
right?
then we can, while we're working on that, we can get working on the deer, getting some input from there to get that plan going, so at least while one's working, we can start the other one, so.
Right, so if you think about shoreline and our river, I mean, you have the living, which you don't want De Normandy to be another Grange, you know, and just dump concrete on it, right? That's our solution. So I think those are all related, just our shoreline.
Mhm.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking, and,
Yeah.
you know, when they did the 3 together, they were lumping them all together. But why was De Normandy not included in that, and going forward, there might be money for just shoreline restoration.
There
in
is.
general. There is,
There's
right?
there's a lot of money out there
So
now.
when we're doing maybe the living shoreline, we look at those options. If Hance is now at a standstill, maybe we do look at more.
Maybe you add hands to a living
That's what I'm
shoreline,
thinking.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't lump them all together because they all are different needs and meet different needs
Yeah.
as well.
But if an engineer is coming out to do that, maybe we can look at.
It'd be considered a single product, you would say maybe different phases.
Right.
Different, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
all right, next item is the Navasink River, I know Brian. Not here today, but I was chatting with him earlier, I know Clean Ocean Action circulated an email, notice about, the hotspot, Marine Park and Red Bank. As he told us last time, Marine Park and Location Fair here are the 2 hotspots that they already know about and that they're working on. And the big thing too, like he has said many times, don't go swimming after a big rainstorm. Just anywhere on the ocean, in the river, like it's not a good idea to go swimming because obviously that's like the first flush and whatnot. I think part of that too, I know Kelly, you had helped to pass around some flyers to some folks, because we found, I guess, I know there was some photos circulated of like dog poop bags along the roads, like close to like where the one hotspot was.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they're, and we'll hear from Joe in a little bit too, I don't think he's here for that, but there was definitely, elevated, numbers of bacteria counts where the creek enters right by the beach there, and so I handed out, Betty Ann printed some, flyers for residents, just reminding them to pick up their dog waste. And a lot of times people might be not as prompt in picking it up if it's within your own yard. And I think that's just trying to people understand, just because it's in your yard, still pick it up, especially if you're one of those houses adjacent to the creek. Anytime nearby a rainstorm as well. I did speak with some residents too, but I do think that a lot of times people forget that we are a coastal community, and whether living a half mile or a mile inland, you forget that what happens on your yard does enter and
Yeah.
make its way, and I've spoken with residents that live near the river. I've also spoken with people from the Shrewsbury Yacht Club, because there's a lot of children and families and people that use that water and get in there,
Mhm.
that are interested. They could be potential partners in collaborating and just reminding, residents, so it should be not just from our voice, but from other people that utilize the river.
Yeah.
My other question too is, if it's happening at the creek and the beach outflow by Shrewsbury River Yacht Club, but what about river rats, where a lot of our kids are in the water all the time and people are in the water and then the boat ramp up and down, and so if we're not monitoring it, should we be, or do we assume that if it's bad on that creek location, it might also be bad on the other as well, and just kind of revamping and re-upping our campaign to remind residents to clean up after the pet.
Mhm. Yeah, I know the DEP they have their locations they always target. And I forget what had the other, I know they added additional locations on based on hotspots and concerns that came up. I don't know if they tested I would think they probably at some point tested by river rats from DEP. But Brian, he was supposed to get an update from them, because he gets, I guess, the updates whenever they get them from after their sampling. He was gonna forward it over to me, but I didn't get it for this meeting. But they said that again, the two of the major hotspots are ones that they're the same ones that we've talked about that they're working on. So,
Do you want to jump in, just so I've done some research on this, and when you say that two hotspots, so you gotta look at where the testing is. So the beginning of this summer, so the beaches, near Jersey beaches, you'll see the signs, they'll be widely publicized that if a beach outflow is above 100 milligrams for, fecal, they ban people from going to the beach, and that gets liabilities. There was probably about, don't quote me the numbers, a handful of places that DEP department did inland waters. There's some Manasquan Reservoir. It was brought to their attention that the Shrewsbury River Yacht Club can be a recreational area for a lot of people. Just one point. So this summer, they began testing that for this program. So each week you go on there and they're gonna say if you're above 100 of that. Not quoting any numbers that you can go on there, it's public data. That's been over probably 4 or 5 times. It's, ranges from 0 to 10. It'll hit over 100. The highest was 330 that got the noise from the council maybe a month ago. So that's one testing that the DEP does. The second testing, and it's a report on your website and the DEP's, is for really, and this is only my knowledge, this could be totally wrong, and this is where I'm trying to learn and see what you guys are, is that it's for like shellfish harvesting. And they tested, and they did a report in 2021. They're supposed to do, and I emailed them this week, they're supposed to have a 23 reappraisal report. That's what I think, this is just my research, and hopefully we'll learn together, or I'll learn from you guys. That's where they test a lot more locations in the river. And the DEP, the beaches one where they test weekly, I don't know how that wasn't a DEP one. Clean Ocean Action does 2 Rally Rivers, they test the number of points. I don't know when they started. I've heard, I want to volunteer next summer doing that, but that's why that was so high there. So when we say there's hotspots, and this is another key one that I learned 2 weeks ago. So on the beaches one where we saw was high, they tested the yacht club. That's right by the dock, or Brown's Lane goes down there. They test right there. So when that hit high, and they were testing this too, I guess, for the reappraisal, they went to the outflow. They stick a bottle in there. And I saw the lady doing it. I said, well, I don't see that testing on the website. What does that measure? She said, I got to talk to my supervisor. Supervisor got back to me a couple days later. She said, I can't give you the exact results. This will come in a report later on. That's in the thousands every week, not the hundreds. So, and my thing is, that's closer to my house. I would think, and I was going to ask you guys if you guys know where the outflows are in Fairhaven. I would think that's one of the better ones, unless there's somebody's dumping stuff right in, Woodland Creeks, things like that. Probably not. I have no idea. But I would think like McCarter's to 4th Creek. no one's, or the DP's testing that, but those results aren't public to me. So I would think all these other ones, my thing was just, let's get the data, see, like, what's going on, that was my thoughts around it, so. I just wanted to share some information, see, I'll keep on, learning as, you guys probably know way more than me. But, it just interests me, but then I don't know, curious going around the neighborhood too, I started to search, is someone or this, having dog waste right here, I think it was mentioned in one of the meetings too. The deer population could be that, I don't know, the 1 week that it was very high, there's, geese flocks that come in. It could just be that, or it could be a high tide, low tide, no flush there. But that's what I'll learn from you guys, and that's what I learned over time. I have my ideas, bringing mussels, clams, oysters. I know New Jersey, won't allow us that, but that helps flush everything out. I know some, people already do it.
Stephanie Adams and I are.
Yeah, but there's just some things.
I mean, all of us, but she wrote a report and we've given it up. It's gone up the pipe,
Yeah.
but
Or like the rib mussels, right? So non-edible.
yeah.
Mussels, but I do think that there's a couple ways to handle it, but
The testing's all being done, they are generating a lot of reports. I know Brian, who's not here tonight, he's really close with
That's what
the DP folks that are doing the work, and so he kind of gets the data first.
I would think from his size too, it's a lot of the reappraisal shellfish.
Yeah, of
Like
course, yeah.
where we can get clams in
Yeah.
this side of,
Yep.
Navasink Road and that, but that's where,
So I
we'll see
mean,
what this report says, right? I think it will come out this fall.
yeah, I mean,
And see if because they could technically, the river, hopefully it's gotten cleaner, because I don't know how many sites, but there's at least 20 to 30,
yeah, and we actually discussed at the last meeting that overall it has in the several years that they've been doing the sampling, it is cleared up. They've fixed a lot of issues. It has gotten tremendously better, and they're on the upward track to be getting to a good place.
As I can see, like, it's all a cycle. I grew up here,
You sound like Brian.
Garbage, city diff, get a normal job now, it's a cycle. There's
Yeah.
a couple of good videos, on the history of the river, but then, one thing gets better, one thing doesn't, but it was just interest me.
do you know what, or what are the reasons they're thinking behind the recent Clean Ocean Action, the Marine Park?
I'm not sure where that came from, because again, I know Brian even mentioned that was definitely a location they knew about, and the state had known about, and I'm not sure where that kind of, the outburst of it kind of came from, so.
Right, which is like from what they think
Yeah.
that this source is. But,
I
I mean,
mean,
obviously
stop
the very
there.
industrial, like it's urban area right there too.
Right, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I read somewhere in one of the reports that they had stopped testing for the safety of the employees or something. Was that Marine Park?
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I know for a long time, Clean Ocean Action stopped testing for a while because of COVID, and it took them a while to get back into their programming. I think they literally just started sampling very recently.
Yeah, I think Clean Ocean was again this summer.
Yeah, they just started up
I think
after.
they used to
few
do it
year
for like
hiatus.
phosphorus nitrates, but they're doing that.
But you don't know what to say.
That's a whole other.
I know Brian was.
But I think too, yeah.
He knows, he is.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just curious to know what.
Yeah, I don't have,
why, but yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with that.
You're always curious too when they say, oh, I can't get you these numbers, and they say. Thousands, I'm like, it's not even close, so that's from now, so the reason why, down, the flow that way, that's why. Shrewsbury River, if that's why that's,
Yeah.
tens of thousands, she said, so. But it's not, my thing is, it's just, it's public that's good, it gets the word around and, scares people as the beach thing did whenever they started that, 2000s, like, it gets people's attention. But the other thing too is I worry about, river rats, in other areas, just to,
Right.
clean it up. Hopefully that is perfect, but I just think the flow from like reporters and all this. And just on the pocket parts too. I can get going on that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they did the testing around it. I think those are, Hans has, I know has an outflow. I'm not sure Grange, I think has outflow there. No, okay, well,
Yeah, hands.
all right.
All right, so
Thank you.
hopefully, yeah, by the next meeting, I said, I know DP should have another update for us. And also I know Brian has the Navasink River Municipalities Committee that has all the towns that are along the river that they meet every month. I don't know if there was an update from that either. I forget which council member is also part of that. But, yeah, like I said, we should have a better update for river data next month.
And then, you know, let us know even from like, speaking from the green team too, and just doing some educational outreach.
Yeah.
Where people know it's not just picking up your dog from the park and being courteous, but you know, it actually from your own home and.
Yeah, I mean, something to consider, is anytime there's any sort of like town event of some
Yeah.
sort, whether it be Fairhaven Day,
Right.
where everyone's at, or, you know, the Fireman's Fair, like to have like a little tiny table even, just to have something, if people are gonna walk by to see it. Just like,
Just reminder, I know.
you know, like that really should be on the mind for any of these meetings that are planned.
And that's a walk around with your neighbors too.
Yeah.
Of course.
You should know which, my thing, I don't know, maybe this is just technical questions. I was just trying to see like how many outflows we have. Do we know maps of our?
We
watershed?
have all the information.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Is that public or?
That's in the,
It's on the Borough
Yeah.
website.
but it does, right, I mean, one of those things we just sidebar, wanted to do our water story, right? And
Yeah.
understand our water story, which is.
That's
All part of it to knowing where the flows are and.
So Joe, that is something that we want more, like, we have the maps, but we don't really have the whole story.
Well,
So we don't know, we're not connecting, and that's with stormwater management, that's also.
Yeah.
with-
There's just, the pieces are all there, just hasn't been
Yeah,
completely put together in one nice.
Yeah, and you know, relate to the town, yeah.
Yep,
As
yeah.
well. Sustainable Jersey has a really good water story action. We can look at that
Yeah.
too.
yeah, like
That'd
the
be
big
great.
thing, we would use specifically to do.
To put it all together.
That's story. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, all the pieces, but kind of making it.
Yeah,
match.
and if we're missing anything that we can.
Sure.
Or just like me, like trying to research like who's testing the river in the, you know, different regards, like.
Right,
Sort of figured out and calling a lot of people.
or like whether we should kind of consolidate this information, us being a coastal town, like having this information on our environmental commission website,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And having updated data,
Yeah.
you know, like so that residents can go and be like, hey, I wanna know,
Yep. I
my
want
kids
to
doing
look
real
at
bad this week, I wanna know what's the latest.
Yeah.
Or even just a, you know, a reminder in the summertime after a big storm, hey, we just had a big storm,
Yeah.
be mindful, like. You know,
Right, but like water, right, like water knowledge and, you know.
Yeah, for a buzz.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially, yeah, in the months that, especially that the river's being used, I think that's
Yeah,
something
water
we're.
quality.
And it did create buzz from the public, like, you know, when people saw it, because then people would be calling me, I'm like, did you know? I'm like, of course I knew. I see the person testing, but then I, you know, I go to river rats and that's like, you know, I think Clean Ocean actually probably is testing them, so I don't know where their sites are, you know, we'll get more information. So.
Like interact like a map.
I'll email Brian soon to see, if he gets the data, I just want to, that was one of the questions, can we, why can't we see, you know, should be public data, you know, not me
The data
personally, but
becomes,
Fairhaven as a
Yeah.
whole should be able to.
it does,
get
the
data.
data becomes public, it just, you know, we get kind of the before it becomes public.
But you think you're getting DP, like the reappraisal shelf, there's like 10 other places they do. Or even Rumson, you know, Middletown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good, you know, just having this information available. to people.
No, I think, I mean, even just,
Updated regular basis.
I know we talked about just revamping the environmental commission website in general, like, so, I mean, that's.
With some of
definitely-
these things that we're
Yeah.
working on
Yeah.
presently.
So that's something definitely be working on. All right,
Another priority.
I mean, that was something we discussed, and I remember the end of last year was updating the
Right.
website anyway, so, all right, next item, environmental roundtable, and we kind of already briefly discussed this, that's in 2 weeks with all different, committees and whatnot, to be discussed, now the ERI is one of the main agenda
I
items.
was gonna say, is there anything else on that agenda
I
besides?
have no idea.
I haven't received any. Besides the year.
Yeah, so I think ERI is the hot topic, so more info on that, after that meeting, so for next month, we should have.
Can I just, I have some kind of concerns about like our building and zoning stuff, because, so I wonder if maybe they could bring that, like, really specifically talk about how we are looking at sustainability in terms of our building and like our projects that we're allowed, like putting through our houses that are building, like how, like, what are our sustainable requirements?
You
That
mean
makes
for,
sense.
did this, to discuss at the round
Yeah,
table?
like, because I would. I'm not speaking well, but basically I would like our building. The houses that are being built to be more considerate of sustainable, like more sustainable, more green, but I don't know that we have a lot of. Those standards within our. Zoning.
I don't
and
think anyone
permitting.
was invited from planning, so
Oh, really?
or anyone from Borough.
I thought they were, I thought
They're Tyler. I thought, you know.
Oh, I meant employees.
Oh,
Todd.
yeah, no, I'm sorry, yes,
Oh,
I don't think, yes, I said building, I did,
None of us,
I meant like the count, like committee side of it, or commission side.
Todd,
Yeah,
and, Rawl.
so, an item to bring up on the, on that agenda too, I guess, we can discuss, besides the ERI.
So are you thinking recommendations or ordinances? That's where.
both, yeah, I mean, I think that's, I need to drill into, do we, I mean, you would know a little bit more, like, what do we have? That
So
is in keeping with more sustainable building, like, do we?
there's runoff parking. I know there's a ordinance
Like
about,
permeable, which is impermeable.
yeah, well,
Or
how
lot
much cover.
Yeah, cover,
Cover is a
yes,
percentage of,
Yep.
of a lot. And then there's requirements more for the commercial, that you have to have an EV charger, or larger lots. But there's nothing like it has to be solar, or it has to be, and I'm sure there's installation requirements, that's never
Yeah.
come up, but usually there is.
I think that might be more on us, and that would be another, obviously not our priority, but to find out maybe. Are there other towns that are like around here that are having more requirements in terms of green?
Well, so one thing that from the green team's part, there's an action where you can, do an environmental checklist. Where if somebody comes with an application or wants to build a new house or modify their house, that you don't have to. You don't tell them you have to do this, but you provide an environmental checklist, which
No,
simply
yeah.
like makes you thinking about this, right? Which of the following are you planning to do? And it has different sections and categories of using local materials or recycling things, or what do you're gonna sort and recycle what are you gonna do with the waste that's there, right? And from all the way to electric, energy and electricity to native trees and shrubs, so it hits on
Yeah.
a bunch of different things, but it makes people just think and consider it. It's not saying you have to do
Yeah, it's
one
not.
or 10 or all of them, but just giving this idea that the discussion is there, that please just feel like that. We'd be curious to know. We'd also want you to think about some of this, which could be a very passive, and gentle way to kind of introduce that
Yeah.
without being.
And it could be useful information for the town to have too.
Mhm.
Well, I know we discussed having like with regards to like the stormwater like checklist for
Yeah.
the planning zoning, so. That could be maybe another topic. I mean, we could certainly bring this up at the round table to kind of discuss having it and how the other, committees would feel about it. I'm sure it'd be amenable, especially, if items come up, it's worthwhile as someone's, presenting like, hey, we have this, some things just consider, don't have to do it, and it helps with providing comments.
So I did bring that up 6 or 8 months ago.
Mhm.
And I got a little bit of pushback of, hey, is this gonna start as recommendation and then shift into demands? Or requirements, and so it wasn't disagreed with open arms.
I mean, we should be providing recommendations for things to
Just
be
because
greener.
it's
I mean, it's a
possibility,
recommendation,
doesn't
it doesn't mean you have to do it, it's not. But I mean, I think, folks have provided recommendations anytime anything's kind of come up, so I think it's.
Yeah, we talk a lot about like they take down a tree, we want them to
Mhm.
plant another tree or two.
Yeah.
But then that's more, we request you to do it, not a recommendation.
But that was voted on, no, I think, isn't that a requirement now?
It's in the new, the new
Right?
trio.
The new trio.
That's,
Haven't
Oh,
passed it,
but it's
put it
in,
in
it's
that.
in the new trio.
Yes.
So that is not a
Anytime
recommendation any longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so there's an example of one that started as a recommendation, turned into a
Mhm.
rule, and so people are
I
hesitant.
gotcha.
But that was also part of like every tree ordinance, every town has some
Yeah.
sort of tree ordinance, and it's always been in a part, this is just a revised tree ordinance, I don't think that, but just giving just, hey, it's a checklist, you can fill it out, or you don't have to fill it out, you're not gonna get a permit if you don't fill it out, right, and you can just not check anything off and sign your name on the bottom, and still get a permit. But just to give and examples of what are some possibilities that homeowners and builders can do that's more sustainable, I mean, I don't think that we
Because
can.
I wouldn't like, I mean, there might be people who welcome it and want to have other,
I would
know
agree.
how the more sustainable routes to go, and then some people go, I don't care.
Right,
So
but somebody be like, oh, look at this, look how much we're doing, like,
Yeah.
we're doing a good job, or you're not, but just, I think. Just adding it into that packet, right, or,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever,
I can try again.
and I'm happy to print out just an example too, yeah.
Yeah.
From the sustainable Jersey, just to show you what it is and some, what other towns do, but it's very benign, it's very, kind of just putting it in there. Thinking points.
Yeah.
So.
This is a good segue for, planning board update. If you have any.
We didn't have a meeting, but our next meeting is Tuesday, the 19th, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? And there is a groundwater, item on the agenda for the old bright, for the bright cleaners at 610. But it's 120 pages, I'm not done reading it yet.
Tell me where that is.
So that is 610 River Road.
Oh, is that?
Right, Palo? Yeah, it's the cleaners right there, I think, right next to the
No.
bookstore.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Is that
gotcha.
610?
That's the clean,
right by Lupo.
the flare cleaners?
It says, the thing says bright cleaners.
Isn't that the empty lot they've been cleaning up?
Hang on, let me see, 610.
Like Sunoco?
No,
No, it's gotta be on the other side, 'cause I'm
It's
522, so it's
right.
even, it's on the,
it's former bright cleaners, 610 River Road.
Which is.
That's,
that's on the south side.
near Tonawalo.
Yeah, so it's
Something that used to be there a long time ago.
yeah, it's 100 pages.
Some kind of pool.
Yeah,
underground.
yeah.
So it's a problem.
Well, so there's some results that they're gonna
Okay.
share.
It's right across the street from the empty lot.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because if there was the groundwater plume probably went to that spot.
So next meeting, I should have some information on that.
Do we know what, was happening with the Sunoco, the empty lot, like, is that going through?
It has passed through the planning board,
Okay,
so we'll have,
with the trees or without the trees,
there, I know we talked a lot about trees.
the removal of those two big trees, right?
Yeah, I think we saved, I've checked my notes, I think we got one saved, and then I don't remember, because we were talking about how far it was. And then general greenery between the properties. But it did, that was months ago, but it's passed through a lot of multifamily with retail on the bottom.
Do you know when that started to?
I thought it would have already started, but haven't yet. Yeah, at least not down the old one.
There was talk about this at the council meeting, and I couldn't some of it.
When they knock them down.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to a different topic, so you can ask.
Oh, knock down what?
No, Sunoco's, they're still there.
Oh, the building.
It's like a shell of a building.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot. Doug asked it so many times.
I know.
Yeah, we have
Over that. Definitely. Like I think.
we have a mandate from the state to add affordable housing. And that's
Yeah,
gonna be
right.
part of the solution there.
What is happening at the current gas station? I heard they're making a big one. Is that correct? There's
So
enlarging.
that has not come through the planning board, but I have heard it's a new owner and they have been cleaning it up.
Yeah, because they cut all of the trees around there. There's like no bushes and no trees at all
He
anymore.
got a permit,
He did. That was kind of,
Hmm.
except for one significant specimen tree that he was not allowed.
Ah,
I mean, I'm assuming.
And
he's
that's why
gonna
we need a
fix that.
stronger tree ordinance, because the minimal
Remember,
fine.
The borough tree professional
11.
said that they were in disrepair.
Oh, okay,
one of the
they were
early,
probably prescribing.
a meeting from a year or two ago here, we talked about the water and the tires. So you clean
Yes.
that up.
Oh.
Remember the mosquitoes?
Yeah,
Oh.
It's a huge positive.
Oh,
That's good.
yeah.
Like, the guy obviously cared, I assume it's a guy, I'm sorry, but he cares about.
Yeah.
The property,
That's
it's
good.
good.
I mean, the guy that works there was very excited to tell me all about it.
Oh, he's always.
He was so nice.
Yeah, he's so nice. He's always very, yeah, you know.
But all of a sudden there was like no trees.
Oh.
Anything else on the agenda?
So no council update, so just new business.
Okay, can I bring up, more part of
Yes, please.
as an environmental committee member and a green team member, I still don't know what happened there, the final story. I feel like there's a lot of hush hush, nobody really talks about it. But I've had residents that live on the border around the pond come up to me and really upset about the way it looks right now, that there's grass and they're gonna be able to walk across it. I have no answers to give them. I would love to know too. I don't know why, we are not being, what the issue is here, and,
Agree.
yeah,
Just kind of stopped and that was it.
and nobody's updated us about it.
Yeah.
I also want to add something to that because we were very clear that we didn't think hydro raking or that hydro raking was a better option than dredging. Moving forward, are they planning on doing hydro raking? Because I'm not convinced that that's the next step that they're planning on doing. So I have some concerns about what is going to happen next, because I don't know that it's going to be hydro raking.
I thought the dredging had some problems. It's better from a environmental standpoint, but I remember the permitting, the state,
It
all
was-
the rules, it really slowed it down and made it much more expensive to the point where it
It
wasn't
is.
feasible. That's the
Yeah.
memory I have, so like hydro was the only option.
Yes,
Got it.
that's
Okay, that was
exactly,
the
that's
issue.
exactly
Okay.
what it was, because doing dredging, you have to do testing, you have to find a place to.
Yeah, it's like-
It's just-
That was-
disposal,
that's
that's the
what I
big, that's the big
remember.
piece, is the disposal. piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of different things that went into dredging, was
Expensive.
very, very expensive, and so the hydro raking was the next best step. In
Gotcha.
addition to having like better fountains.
Right.
So
Yes,
that's
well,
why we
yeah.
pushed it, because we weren't able, because we were never gonna get the dredging, because it was,
Mhm.
they were never gonna be able to fund it.
So if they find if funding is found for dredging, then that is a better option than.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
100%,
Okay,
but it just, yeah, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive,
Okay.
yeah.
But, so, there are people that live around there that are interested, they wanna
Yeah.
help out, they wanna alleviate because it's right in their backyard and understand more about the issue. Is it because, obviously the lowest bidder, but these people didn't know what they were doing, there was nothing that was taken out of it, that was my understanding of what I heard from tidbits, but like.
I
how
live
can
around
we
there,
never
so it didn't
kind of-
look like anything was taken out.
But how come we never kind of got an update?
Yeah, we should
To the
be,
environmental commission about what
happened.
happened and what didn't happen. Now I know we're in litigation with this guy. I don't know. Are we with this company that said they could do it and they couldn't do it? They didn't know how to do it, but it would be nice to kind of understand the situation better.
Yeah.
And.
I agree.
and it sounds like nothing can be moved forward because the money is allocated,
Locked in
locked in this, so now nothing can happen. Is my understanding.
Another item, would be great to have Tracy here to let us know what's going on, because, yeah.
But even, right.
Just to have some sort of
We've
update.
never been updated on
No, I
what's
agree.
happening, just stop
Yeah,
and
I agree. I think any big project, especially that we're involved with, we should have some sort of like,
a degree.
some sort of update, like, hey, here's what happens, like, they usually provide progress reports.
Right.
For different, I'm sure the town gets progress reports for any of the projects that are going on, so.
But in the
hopefully
meantime,
no
while we're
progress,
waiting,
but-
I mean,
Yeah.
while we're waiting, the pond is just filling up. I
Yeah.
mean, you see the grass reeds
Oh,
in
it's
there, it
terrible.
is really,
Yeah,
and I know the mosquito problem is pretty big too, as well. I don't know how those people's yards, so,
So litigation
So maybe
complications.
that hydro raking shouldn't have been done at that time of year, I mean, if the stuff's not growing.
Well, but I don't even think they tried. is what my understanding.
Like,
It
right,
didn't
nothing
look like,
Literally
so
nothing.
I literally walk there almost every single day since I live around there, and it didn't look, it looked like they had whatever set up for the equipment, and then nothing ever happened after that.
I was
It was
told that,
gone.
I was told that the equipment never even got dirty. Through the grapevine.
like there
There's
was
a lot of
no,
scuttlebutt
there was
about it.
nothing to even, that was removed from there to even then transport to the Fairhaven Fields natural area. There's nothing.
Yeah, I keep looking for the pile, I never saw it.
Yeah,
There wasn't
that's
a-
fucking
Yeah.
nothing.
So when we talked about it, had to dry out so it weighed less.
Yeah, so,
On the communication litigation, I've also tried to find out, and because it's litigation, that communication, just no one's gonna talk in litigation. But I'm asking, is there a way that we could find out? Like in an executive session or something where, I don't know if that's possible, because everything we do has to be public.
Yeah.
There's, we're not gonna find out when there's litigation.
no thanks.
Unless you're.
At least what led up to the you know what I mean? Like, just get it updated on what led up to this and where are we now? We're just, you could just say, we're in litigation for the time being, and this is what
And
we're,
why?
why,
I
and
think
what
they're
is the
really-
timeline?
I think they're strapped, like, their hands are bound. I don't think they can talk
Yeah, I agree.
about a lot,
Okay.
like.
Or just be like, it didn't work, and this is why, right? I don't know.
Just, yeah, I know something.
I know they're not happy and I know they're working on it. That's,
Now, is there anything that we could, anything passive that we could do with residents that order that area, right? I don't know, I mean, again, I
To
would
give,
like just
communicate
speaking
with
like,
them, essentially.
again, I know we've discussed it before too, but just reminding residents to minimize their pesticide and fertilizer and like building border crops so that slows the row and put the flow of that stuff into, because the more nitrogen and phosphorus that you get in there, the more growth and algae.
Mhm.
So, I mean, is there anything else? Because I know of a handful of friends of mine who live on the lake, on the pond, and they're like, what can we do? This is really bad. Can we get an update? I thought we were handling it in the spring and it never happened, but
Yeah.
if there's something that we can just look in the time being, here's what you can do, be mindful of.
Yeah, I mean, really the biggest things are not putting pesticides on the property, cleaning up dog poop, yeah, having,
Not
that
mowing,
border.
have a little border area where you
Yeah.
don't mow or have grass,
I mean, they're really, yeah. No,
This is more of a DEP question, obviously, but I heard from an old DEP employee, or DPW employee, sorry, that they used to use some chemicals that weren't harmful. Now, does that exist? Like, are there actual chemicals we could use in the meantime that wouldn't be necessarily harmful to, anything living there?
like to kill the plants.
like kill milk oil.
Kill the, like.
no, that's what they were.
I think
Yeah.
they tried that in the past.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's what I'm
wondering.
saying.
It
It's not
didn't
hundred
really
it's
give
not
a
much.
You had that $10,000 a year, right, or something?
Yeah, and it wasn't.
That's what I kind of remembered. I kind of came in when they were first talking.
Yeah, no, they were doing treatments, but we stopped it with the intention of, oh, we can do the
Yeah,
higher
yes,
this year, so
yeah.
but again, it really didn't do much anyway, because even though they treated it, it still popped up.
Is Ralph still on? Does he have? He's pretty
Ralph,
involved
can you
with that.
unmute yourself, please? I believe you knew about this.
Yeah, he's pretty involved.
He's muted.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if it's, remind me, is it a natural body of water or was it
No.
created by humans?
It was created by humans.
Pond for-
It wasn't.
It was nice pond.
No, I-
Partners. So that's just, you can walk and duck.
You're fighting
Keep
nature.
stuff in front.
Right, I mean, that's a natural evolution of a pond, because eventually it's gonna get filled up,
Go back
but.
into dirt.
But there's, that's another, where it goes, that all pond underneath to Wood Creek and, down. Underground for a little while.
But it's a landmark of our town.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's,
People love
I
it.
don't want to so it's fine. Do we look at bad names? What's the Rumson Pond?
The
And
Rumson
trench
Pond.
that,
Mhm.
and they put a big area or there,
Mhm.
that works.
So that is
I
like,
think I.
that's our.
That's what we wanted, but
Yeah.
the point is that Mother Nature's relentless.
of course.
That,
Also, right,
It's used.
It is your, that's the thing. I mean, they're
well, that's right, our natural resources, and if we don't take care of them, they will fall idle and fall apart. But also, vetting these companies, you know, again, going to Borough's bid.
I
understand.
Unfortunately, anyone in government.
Yeah, so it worries me about range too.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, just thinking about it, because they're dredging the river. The Navasink is mostly sand, so at the base of Setting Bay. They started that project and they're dumping it out, here. But Shrewsbury, they're doing that process where they take the mud, put it somewhere, I don't know, but.
So
It should be
Shrewsbury-
looked at where they put it, the price, Brian probably knows the prices on.
Could we dump the sand to Normandy?
Yeah, you can't put it on top of the
It's already-
but Shrewsbury River is not, I'm saying, so they gotta take that out. Let it dry out and then move it to wherever after a certain amount of time. Brian's kind of,
I know about it too, and it's, the permits already went through, they're already done.
well, they're already done, that's what it was, state to do the state, channels of the river, but they missed that too.
Oh, man, yeah.
Maybe next 20 years.
Is there any other new business from folks you wanna bring up? If not,
So I'll be adding Carter Pond to the agenda next month.
I mean, I think we need to at least get some sort of update from Tracy, even if it's just like a quick, like,
Right.
hey, we don't need to be adding it every single month, I think just to get like a.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
we
a-
did
some
some
kind
kind
of
of, we're
update.
working on it,
Yeah,
yeah.
just,
That's-
I think that should be probably, that should be highlighted for kind of Tracy's update.
Got it.
Or even what I mean, I'd like to know what's happening, but what we can say to people,
Yeah,
because a
yeah,
lot of people are.
Yeah,
like,
right.
a lot of people ask.
I don't know what to say.
no, I agree. Right, with that, public comment section, so Fairhaven Environmental Commission welcomes comments, suggestions, and inquiries from residents from Fairhaven. You must wait to be recognized by the chair, identify yourself by name and address for the record, and if you could please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Joe, I don't know if you have any more
Oh,
comments?
sorry, I broke all.
You did break all the rules, but let it fly tonight. Thanks for coming. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or? you-
I'm good,
Okay.
I got some other comments.
Is there anybody online?
Yes, if you have a comment online, please use raise hand Zoom feature and I will bring you over as a panelist to speak.
Going once.
There are no comments.
Whoa,
Wow.
I think Stephanie and Sarah are on.
Yeah. The usual,
Where is she going?
I know, well, with that, then, we will adjourn the meeting and next meeting is Wednesday, October 11th at 7:30.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Nice job.
good job.
Thanks. Not bad.
Yeah,
That's
our